Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Mending Podcasts. We are happy to have you again. Today, my name is Joshua Kukiriza. I haven't changed. Married to one wife, Victoria Kukiriza. We have been blessed by the grace of God with one son. I have two people with me here, and they will take a second or two to introduce themselves.
This Mugume. I'm glad to be back again. Thanks, Josh, and for welcoming me again. I'm not married yet, single. I'm the only single guy on the Papa Note today. Working at Sequence as a students minister or slash pastor, and it's a joy to be back to Mending. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Omara. Glad to be back as well. Married to Faith, and we also have one son.
Nice.
Glad to be here.
We're happy to have you on this platform. The last podcast we recorded, we didn't have Dennis here. Like I shared, he wasn't well, but we thank God he's back with us and he's
Guess
well.
who's back? Yeah.
Yeah.
In the house.
Yeah, today we weren't able to have Paul. We have Jonathan, like you can see. The last episode we talked about sex in marriage. If you have anything you missed, please go check it out. You can still send in questions. We shall respond to them. Let's dive straight into today's topic. Today we are going to touch on cohabiting. In our day and age, you will find that cohabiting has become something that is almost normal to many people, our age group. I think even people older than us, there's been a lot of cohabiting that you can trace in our society, and we want to see, is it the right thing to do? What does the Bible have to say about it? So without wasting any more time, let's just dive straight into it. I'm going to throw this question out there, and you can choose to shoot it down, either of you. What is cohabiting?
Well, I can't go into. It comes from two words: co and habitation.
Yeah.
Nah. It
And
is
co means?
and co means together, shared. No, it is. Yeah, again, two adults, two young adults, most of the time, living together in the same space, and of course, also open to the possibility of sexual activity and sharing bills and things like that. So. It's basically two young adults of marriageable age most of the time living together, even without a ring on their fingers as a married couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Really, I think the main point is they have not agreed, as in a marriage, as a couple, husband and wife, give of all that they are before they even live together. They have already given. So you have two people getting into that space without kind of getting those bounds in. So they are just, yeah.
Okay, an incident where, let's say, this guy, hypothetically, this guy has come to university and he has rented out a house and he has to co-rent with someone, and then the person they're co-renting with is a female. Does that also end up being cohabiting? Is that also cohabiting?
Yeah. I think if you're sharing a roof, then surely you are cohabiting. It doesn't matter whether you know the person like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but if you're sharing a roof with an opposite sex member, I think you are cohabiting. Of course, it doesn't apply if you're the same sex. Of course, we have to be careful. But yeah, I think if it's opposite sex of marriageable age and you're not married but you're staying in the same roof, that is cohabiting by and large. Yeah.
Okay, so what does it look like in the Bible?
Cohabiting.
What it looks like in the Bible, I feel like most of the examples we have are of marriage.
Yeah.
And so it's like, because cohabiting comes in because there is something being broken, like there is marriage, and cohabiting is like, I could say the opposite end. I don't know, not the opposite, but the Bible keeps showing us this public, like it's two people known by everyone else that they've made that decision to stay to not just to stay together, but to be one. Especially going with the definition of marriage in the Bible as two becoming one flesh. So you see the Bible continually pointing to that whenever it talks about marriage. It's not just this guy came and he met this lady and then
They
started staying together. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that's not so much what you see.
I think my mind just goes to John 4, the discourse between Christ and the lady at the well,
Yes.
where he tells her in verses 16, go and call your husband and come here. And she said, I have no husband. And he said to her, you are right in saying I have no husband. So Jesus did not sort of affirm the men she was staying with as husbands by saying, go and call your husband. But he said that you have no husband. So it means in the Bible, to stay with someone as a married couple, you have to be married. Otherwise, you're not living married, you are cohabiting.
Yeah.
You see. So it's not painted in a positive light at all. It's painted as a sinful behavior. Yeah.
But okay, you see, marriage is well, in our day and era, is in a sense it's two people that love each other coming together, agree, then they'll go get married. And it seems like love is the important thing in this equation. So why then not just move in?
Right.
Okay, you have the love. It is there, it is burning. You're sure that you're in love with each other. Why then not just move in? Well, of course, considering in case of anything happening later, you have less legal things to deal with.
Right. Well, I would say love and law always go together. Without law, then love becomes one of those balloons that are normally put at exhibitions, for phones in town. It's like hot air blowing under, and then there's a balloon going up and down. Without the air blowing, then there's no spine holding it, and so I think love cannot be enough to move in, because who is defining love here? What if by moving in you are saying I love you enough for you to be my roommate, but not to be my wife? You get what I'm saying? It's still selfish either way. It is not love as love ought to be. If love was really true, then love me enough to commit to me for the rest of my life. Versus let us try out things. And again, I think also we overemphasize the idea of feelings and chemistry and the spark. But those sparks sort of don't last forever, do they? And so you need that promise. That promise to give you freedom, to become who you really are. Versus moving in and just trying to maintain the spark. And so you end up having all these shifting identities, like a spectrum.
Yeah, to protect your...
Yeah, to protect the spark. But with the promise in play, with the marriage promise in play, or with the commitment you make, the public permanent commitment you make, it safeguards that spark. And when it is there, praise the Lord. If it's not there, we are still in this together. So it gives you a sense of permanence and identity that you can count on when life changes. Yeah,
I think one of the things behind that is that, okay, you really feel like you love this person, right? But then you also don't own the world. Like you didn't make it. There is a God that made it, and then he has something to say about how the world should run, and therefore how marriage is defined. So you don't just feel your way and do whatever you want.
right.
Yeah, it has to be within what he says. So it's not just that because I feel this way I'm going to do this. No, God sets in place. Of course, you could say, someone could argue that the traditions are different, but nonetheless, God sets marriage in place. Yeah, and that is how two can become one. That's how two can live together. Not just that I just feel this way.
Yeah.
No, this is what God says, and if God has said it, then that's where it will make sense.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if we normally think that way, but what God says about His creation and what God says about life is what will make sense. If you do it any other way, it won't. You'll be now trying, as Dennis has said, trying to protect the person you're living with from going out by acting a certain way. So like you're doing these things so that they don't go. Like you're doing this and this so that they stay with you, which marriage begins with two giving themselves for each other, regardless. Like you have given. I like how the vows were made, like in sickness and in health, for richer, for poor. Like you have given yourselves there. Yeah. So that's like now my wife is not doing things so that she can keep me. Like she doesn't have to do that. She already has me because I gave myself.
Right.
But when you're not in that, you'll try to weave characters and ways and things to do so that you keep the person, which is very unhealthy.
The thing I find interesting about marriage vows is that they are not talking about how I feel right now. Every marriage vow is, it is more or less, it is in the futuristic, because we are human beings. How I feel right now is how I was feeling in the morning.
True.
Now, if I pitch, love just on how I feel, then it's not strong enough to withstand the changes in my own body, even in life itself. Yeah.
Let's first. I think it would be important to define what marriage is. Because you will have arguments of, the way we see marriage being done in the Bible is not how it's done now.
It's done today,
Isn't it just, things will keep coming up. So what should getting married look like? What is marriage?
Right. Well, even in the Bible, I think, one, the parents were involved. I think about Abraham, when it was time for Isaac to have a wife, Rebecca. Abraham is actively involved. So I don't see two young people, Isaac and Rebecca, going like, there's a way I have a thing for you, I have a spark for you.
Yeah.
Abraham was involved. So on whatever cultural level it is, the families are involved, because this is two families getting together. Okay? Not just the young couple that wants to be together. That's one. Two, the state is involved in some way, because marriages exist not in space, but in a geographical location, Uganda.
Yeah.
So if this commitment is to be public and permanent, it can't be private. It has to be recognized by both the families, by the state, and because we are Christians, by your church. You get it.
Yeah.
So, I don't see us sort of just stopping at the family and saying kakasta. But if you're a believer, surely you really want that your church, the local body where you pray from, where you fellowship with, knows you as a married couple. So I think I see those happening, that not just the two of us liking each other, but our families are involved, the state is involved, and then the place where we worship at, or where we have come to believe Christ in, is involved as well. Yeah.
I think I do agree.
Yeah.
I don't think I have much to add.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
I mean, also just to add a bit of that to that, it's not that how big the wedding is equals to how great the marriage will be.
Yeah.
But those institutions that I've just mentioned participating in your union is what makes a marriage legalized or codified. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe if I'm just adding, so all that is happening so that these two, a man and a woman, right? A man and a woman.
Yeah.
Like,
Surely.
Yes,
These days,
a man and a woman.
emphasize that.
Yeah, nothing else. but those two are making a commitment to each other.
Yeah.
To, like, they commit to each other for life, right? Like for all their life. and that's as I've already said, regardless of what may come. So all that is happening. The family is gathering, and the state is recognizing, and your local church is recognizing you making a commitment. So that's important, that the two are committing in front of everyone who is present, because that definitely adds to the accountability.
Yes.
But they have to commit, because that's the only way the marriage will make sense, as I've kind of said.
Right.
So yeah, that defines marriage.
Right.
Okay, so now let's say we have this scenario. These people have been cohabiting, say, 5+ years, with the argument that they needed to put some funds together to be ready to get married. We've been trying to grow as a family. No, not as a family,
Yeah.
but as a couple.
As a couple, right?
Hey, do you think when they eventually get married, do you think that there are certain effects that are likely to happen
Right.
because of where they're coming from?
Well, it's a Russian roulette, isn't it? It's putting a bullet in a revolver and then you twist it and then you shoot.
Right? Yeah.
Because the moment you begin living together, there are bills which come in. Maybe a child will come in there, and priority moves from trying to get married to trying to take care of bills and the child and stuff. So, I think there are things which ought to happen in their time. You know, that's like arguing that if I live in someone's, if I'm renting somewhere for a long time, like for 10 years, that house, the day it begins, it feels like mine. I should own it, but
Yeah,
it doesn't. You know, so I think that the downward effect to that would be the stats. It looks like in the US, if you read a book like Cheap Sex, Mark Regras, a book like Meaning of Marriage, Timothy Keller, he has all these stats that show that couples which live together before they got married have a higher chance of divorce after they're married. Because when you're living together before you get married, it's like you're performing, you are acting, you are at your best. It's like one long date but when the when the commitment, one long fast date, right? Yeah, because they say everybody seems to send their best version of themselves to their first date. So it's that long date. But when marriage now comes in with the commitment, the real self comes out, and you may not like it. You see. So that's what I would say. The first effect I would say is likely to happen. Of course, some will say, well, I've seen people who have lived together and now they're happily married. Well, again, back to our game of rational date, get a pistol, put the bullet, and then, shoot. Out of 6 bullets, one will hit you.
Yes.
And you might be that one. So I think it's a dangerous game to play. Yeah.
I think also really, if you first live together and you live as though you are married, the idea of marriage just loses its, like the idea of let me call it getting married.
Getting married.
Yeah, because you're like, why?
What is the urgency?
Yeah, what's new? Like,
yeah.
we are already here.
We're here.
Yeah, and so it just vanishes, and you would have to. There would be a lot of tuning of your mind back, because I'm imagining if someone is in that kind of state right now, you would have to tune your, like, get in the Word and study, and just let God's Word teach you again the value of marriage. Otherwise, it's already skewed. Like like what you think about it is already skewed. So you may not value it as you should.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. How then can a couple navigate physical intimacy in the context of dating and things like living arrangements? What should that look like?
If I may, I think they should have boundaries.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's like the main answer to that. You're not married, then don't live as though you are until you are. So have boundaries set and have really accountability. Have so that you, because we are sinners. The fact is, we are sinners, and if you two really love each other, you're going to be tempted in that direction. So if you start space sharing, even if it's room, this room and that room, and you won't be, your hope is not to do anything, you will be tempted, because for you guys, it might be different. For people who don't know each other, they will have to build, like I'm saying, I'm describing a dangerous thing, so I'm not saying it's okay. Two people who don't know each other living in the same space might take more time to build the danger, but they will. But you guys who are dating, it's already there. Like it's already, you're already waiting for each other.
Right.
So it's a trap.
Right.
So you have to be very careful navigating that, and immerse yourself in the word, immerse yourself in within a body, within a body of Christians, so that your time is not like, once also you kind of get idle and just you get all these ideas, but once you keep yourself within the word, within the church, and working, and like not just there seated,
chilling.
It kind of keeps you from that until the time when you are free to do it, when you're married.
Yeah, I compare it to, I don't know, everybody has been a student before. I would assume, if you're watching this podcast, ever try to read your notes on your bed? Like, I mean, just grabbing your notes and then you're trying to read. It never works. Like either way, the bed is designed to go downhill, like to sleep, you know. So I think people who are dating as believers, as Christians, need to meet in public places, you know. I mean, there are public places which are public-private. You could have lunch there and talk about what you need to talk about, and then have boundaries. And then set a date for your marriage.
Yes.
I think. Because it looks like it's one long thing that just goes on. You've been dating forever. There is no real time frame of when do we end this thing. You know. So the pressure tends to heighten. You see. Yet if you had discussed the dates, you know, I am waiting, but you know, next year, anytime now, things change. You know. But because there is no real date in mind, there is no plan in mind, we just date like forever. And then before you know it, we are tempted and we are asking all these questions and trying to find a way out. But we didn't walk in wisdom. And then, of course, the other bit of it is dating exists for evaluation. Again, I think we mentioned this on this podcast before. Dating is not the marriage. It is a place where we are evaluating whether we are the best fit for each other in marriage. All right? And that means we are using the time to ask real questions about our lives, about our families, about our history, about our past. If we skip all that and go straight to bed, it becomes hard to pull out when the red flags show up. You get it? So I always tell men that, you know, date in such a way that it's possible to pull the plug whenever you see the red flags. Because some men can't pull the plugs because they have overly invested in the lady, they have paid their rent, they've paid their tuition, and they feel like now, okay, fine, she's cheating with somebody else, but I've already given in so much money, how can I lose everything? No. Let there be boundaries, you know, and discuss the expectations from the first day. Yeah.
So, okay, interesting. But, you see, some of the reasons, reasons given for cohabiting, there are certain things that can't be seen in the dating.
Yeah.
For example, what says.
Yes.
Yeah. You're there, you've just gotten married, honeymoon.
And then she has like a chitambo. She's going out too.
Then there's a funny story. When we were getting married, someone asked, "What if you reach there and you find that she's not a woman?"
I know someone who was told that.
Wow.
What if you reach there and she's not a woman? Oh, you know, you're not functioning. She's not functioning. All of those things. What would the biblical mindset around that be?
I think even me, maybe one of the things someone once told me is, you might need to first get a child like just to be sure
Just to
that,
be sure she can actually give
yeah,
birth.
that she can give
Yeah.
birth. And no, like that's dangerous. Um, again, you're talking about if you genuinely do love this person, then you will wait until the time as God has put it. Like, I'm really going back to that, because if there is indeed a God, and there is, then what he says matters. So how you claim you love your person has to be kind of weighed in respect to what he has said. Yeah, you don't just do whatever you want. But then again, it's kind of like you want to test your person in boundaries which are outside, because I like you've talked about how in dating there is a sense in which there is an evaluation, but that evaluation is not how good are they in bed. Yeah, because that skews your mind. Like,
Right.
it will
It impairs your judgment.
yeah, you will no longer judge as well as you should. Yeah. But then let's say maybe it's about children, for example. So they're telling you need to test and be sure they. The point is, you give yourself to this person, whether the children come or not. Like, that's the depth of the marriage bond.
The covenant.
Yeah, it's a covenant. It's more than just, oh, I feel this way. No, it's more than just that. So you are going there to love this person regardless. Yeah. And people will say everything. Like, there will always be a reason for you to break the law, to break what God has said. But you need to trust him and go forward.
Right.
Yeah.
It's to me reminds me of Adam and Eve in the garden. Did God really say?
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I mean?
Exactly.
This sort of suspicion that somehow God would instruct us to do something that he knows is bad for us. So it's devilish in that way, just to say, number one. Number two, I think we are supposed to date in community. There's a way dating in community helps. So fine, you didn't have a father who knows the family and stuff, maybe. But still, the people that we date don't come out of Mars. Like, they don't learn like yesterday.
Yeah.
They have a history that is known, that can be known, you see. So I feel like because today we sort of do things our own way, in terms of, I met this guy in a club somewhere, we were, at the Budo League thing or at the Smack League thing, and we just got together and now we're getting married. No one takes the time to involve community. Or many times people don't. They just don't feel it's important enough. Yet it's actually important to solve out some of these things. And then secondly, or even thirdly, you two are supposed to be at your most honest space.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
As believers, of course, you are. My working theory is you're only going to be a better husband or a wife to the degree that you're a better Christian, that you're a better follower of Jesus, which involves church, which involves Bible study, which involves prayer, and above all else, we have received the Holy Spirit of God, not to fear, but to trust, but to walk boldly in some of these things. So I think those questions are there. But I'm not sure whether they are coming from a place of trust and obedience more than suspicion and disobedience. Yeah.
All right. We have come to the end of our episode, people. This is part 1 of this episode. Look out for part 2. It's coming out soon. See you till next time.
God bless you.